Welcome to this first blog for March. I'm excited about introducing a new topic for this month. As many of you may know, I teach something called choice theory, which was developed by Dr. William Glasser. I love teaching this theory. I know I love theory, but besides that, it's because it really helps me understand people and really even have a sneak peek into why they do what they do, which is very helpful. So this theory explains that we are always comparing what we have with what we're doing or with what we want. This evaluation or comparison is central to all we do. And it makes real good sense that, I compare what I have with what I want and so forth. Whether that's a conversation I'm having with someone to sort out something, a new car, how my child is behaving, this comparison is going on all the time. And it's an evaluation that's inside of me. So they call it an internal evaluation or self-evaluation. So this past week I was recording a teaching video on this topic of evaluation and why we don't always make great evaluations. So if we're always comparing things, why don't we realize more quickly when things are not working? It's a great question, isn't it? So when I was thinking about this, I realized that the answer was tied to what information we let into our systems, into our awareness. If I let information in that tells me there's a problem, then I have something to compare. Or put another way, without information, I have nothing that tells me there's a problem. So really the key is getting information into my own awareness. So let me be more specific. Have you had the experience of somebody you know not realizing there's a problem when to you it seemed very clear? I think this happens all the time, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Why don't we know? Okay, so looking more closely, I realized that we have beliefs that actually stop information from coming in. So let me say that again. We have beliefs that stop information from coming in. Now, I'm not saying that this is consciously filtered or that we're doing that consciously. This can happen at a totally unconscious level, but it is happening nonetheless. So imagine if a car's navigation system had ways of stopping information or data from coming in. That would be a disaster. Well, I think it's just as problematic for humans. So maybe it's not a life or death matter every time, but it does get in the way of good communication, of learning, of continuing to improve, and a host of other things. So for example, let's say I believe somebody is inexperienced. I might disregard what they have to say. Or if I believe they don't actually know what they're talking about, I could quickly tune them out. If I think maybe it's none of their business, I might also stop them from even sharing. So it's my beliefs that influence the information that gets in or that I let in. And then going one step further, it's also my beliefs that can stop me from getting more information. For example, how often do I ask somebody to tell me how to improve something? Do I take every opportunity to let somebody show me how they do a task or a skill? Even something as simple as how they behave in the kitchen. If I did let more information in, could I learn more? Well, for me, the answer would be yes. So why don't I ask for more feedback, for more input? Well, this month I'm going to talk about beliefs, how they limit us, and how we limit ourselves by them, and what we can practice that will help change that pattern that really doesn't serve us. So this week, I'm going to start with beliefs that stop information from coming in. If I asked you, what beliefs could a person hold that would stop information from getting in? Well, initially you might draw a blank, but let me give you a couple of examples. If I believe people are pretty much always ready to put you down, then I'm not likely to ask for input, am I? Or if I believe asking for feedback means that I'm really not very competent, then I certainly wouldn't ask for more input. So, with those examples, are any ideas starting to pop up for you? If you're thinking, well, I don't know that I have any of those negative beliefs, that I really want, that I think are limiting me, I want to challenge you on that. So March is really going to be about challenging. February was about nourishing. March is going to be challenge. So the question really is, are you willing to take a look at what beliefs you could have that limit you? Because I'm pretty sure we all have them. So to help you get started, you could think about general kind of areas in your life, be it relationships or friendships. You could look at what beliefs or assumptions do you have about them and how people should behave. Or you could choose an aspect of daily life, even like food or eating. I know this may sound kind of mundane and maybe even bizarre, but let me tell you, I was amazed when I began to look more deeply at how I approached eating. I noticed when I'd sit down, with a group of people for dinner at home, I noticed I was scanning for the amount of food and which foods I liked and wanted more of. And as I really looked at this, I saw underneath there was a theme of scarcity. Would I get enough? Would there be enough? It even influenced how fast I was eating. Now, this really surprised me because I didn't grow up with scarcity. There was abundance of food and all kinds of general material comforts. We did have 6 kids, so maybe that's part of it. And I was adopted at just about a year of age. So could it even go back that far? I think it's really interesting to look at how far back something can already be ingrained. So that's just an example of, for me, I started to notice there was some beliefs or a tendency or maybe an assumption that I really was monitoring food. I wasn't fully relaxed and completely at ease with that there'd be plenty, that there'd be enough, that I could eat slowly and not have to worry that I would really be fed and get enough nourishment. So that's just a little personal example. It may seem very minor, and yet if that's going on in such a small area like food, imagine how many other beliefs could be influencing me in ways that I don't even realize. So that's what this week is all about. Can you begin to identify and look for some beliefs, some assumptions, some ways of doing things that perhaps don't serve you, that perhaps underneath have a negative or limiting belief? All right, so for this week, I encourage you to be an investigator. Just see what you notice when you start tuning in to how you're doing life. What beliefs, what assumptions, as I said, are operating underneath and influencing your thoughts or action. This is a bit like deep sea diving. And please, don't judge yourself. All we want to do is open up this exploration. If you start to feel overwhelmed, remember, there's no kind of need to change anything at this point. All we're doing is exploring and noticing. So I'd like to encourage you to just be curious. And then next week, I'll focus on how we can shift a negative or limiting belief to a positive one or an empowering one. You probably have heard the adage, what you don't know can't hurt you. I grew up with that. Well, I believe it's exactly the opposite. What you don't know can hurt you. So have a good week. I hope you do some exploring and some reflecting. And next week, we will be looking at making some of these shifts, opening up some possibilities. I found as I get older, I'm more and more excited about how I can continue learning. And maybe it's because my ego is a little less in the way. I'm a bit more open to learning from more and more people. So it keeps life very interesting. All right, bye for now. Have a great week, and I look forward to you being with me next week.